Hi, I'm Shayna.
And I'm Tracy, and we are the creators of The Pump and Dump Show. We are moms, but we were women first. And in this podcast, we explore what it's like to be a woman who also happens to be a mom.
Before we were moms, we were women. Before we were moms, we were chilling. We were pumping and dumping. We're talking about something. This is the Pump and Dump Podcast.
Welcome back, breeders.
We had to take a week off. Apologies.
We did. I literally have no voice.
And we physically could not record a podcast.
But we love you. We're here for you.
We really missed you.
We're back this week.
We are. We're talking about food.
We're talking about nutrition and food. I feel like we could talk about it for,
I know.
You could do a whole podcast on it.
You mean a whole themed podcast series?
We're not going to. Don't worry.
We are doing a podcast on it. We're switching to nutrition, guys.
I feel like, not only is there concern about food and health for ourselves as people and then as women with hormones and all that kind of stuff, but the fear that you have of giving your kid the right thing, the wrong thing, what you've done in the past, what you do now, what was different, when your babies were little tiny babies versus your second baby versus there's so many different things to talk about. So we're bringing in an expert
because we don't know.
You actually know a lot.
I mean, yes.
You've done your research.
It doesn't mean it's all right. I mean, you just don't. I mean, how do you know? That's the problem. I mean, I do a lot of research, but I still don't know if it's like correct. I feel like it changes all the time.
Sure.
I mean, I kind of found a groove that works for me and my family, I guess, but I don't know.
It's hard.
It's so hard
because you're responsible for feeding other human beings.
You are. And I am. I'm pretty, strict about organic and vegetables and all that stuff. But then like we will talk about, like I have no problem taking the family to Taco Bell. I mean,
right.
You gotta roll with it a little bit.
You gotta have a balance.
You gotta have a balance. Thank you. Moderation.
Everything in moderation. But these days, I mean, it's interesting, our daughters are 8 and you're watching these kids hit puberty younger and younger. And then you learn that so much of that has to do with food or just the way that we feel. I obviously, the older that you get, the more you feel the food inside of you. Right.
Well, I can't even, I mean, Sydney Beer, who we're friends with, and she's a great person to follow on Instagram. I love her so much. You guys should follow her. It's at Sid Beer, CYDBEER. Did this great post about struggling with weight loss and exercise and stuff. And she's just like, if I eat too many celery sticks, I gain weight. And that is completely me. Like, I can look at food and gain weight these days. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, certainly I can't eat what I used to eat. Let's just put it that way.
It's just like,
I mean, when I think about what I used to eat.
I mean, you and I both, I mean, we just would.
Or just in college, like I used to buy this like Alfredo sauce and a jar of the Alfredo sauce. And then I would make, like the ramen packets. I would make the noodles from the ramen packet, but I wouldn't put the ramen on there. I would put
Alfredo sauce.
Yeah, actually it was like a pesto Alfredo sauce. I would put that on ramen noodles and that would be like my
a real
dinner.
Gourmet meal.
Yeah.
I used to pride myself, me and my girlfriend, every morning after our 8:00 class in college would go to the gas station and get the biggest jug of Mountain Dew. And we drank it every day. In the morning, I would wake up and I would drink a jug of coffee mixed with an entire packet of hot chocolate. And then after the 8:00, I would drink an entire jug of Mountain Dew. How I'm still standing without like my entire stomach in like being eaten away is disgusting. But like, how do you?
I guess we used to do that to ourselves.
I don't even think I could take a sip of Mountain Dew.
But then
anymore.
we're so protective of what our kids are putting in their bodies, and like, that's what we used to eat.
I know. It doesn't make it right though. I mean, God, I don't even have a uterus anymore. I feel like some of that had to have an effect.
Was it just ignorance? Like our parents didn't know what that was doing to us?
Oh, well, my mom was really strict. I mean, I always ate really healthy. I think there's just college. I mean,
there's just college.
I mean, I had never even had Apple Jacks when I went to college. I remember going to the quad or, the cafeteria. And I remember there was like a waffle machine and then just a line of cereals that I was never allowed to eat in my life. And I thought I had like arrived in heaven. So of
Oh
course
my
they ate it
gosh.
all.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
I mean, how often are we at an airport and we see someone in front of us at the Starbucks getting just like a 7 a.m.
Candy bar and
quadruple candy bar and
and
a frozen.
I know. Well, it's all out there. I mean, our society, we just thrive on sugar and salt. I mean, it's just America.
And geez, I mean, I'd love to have that. I just would feel like absolute
Oh
shit.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, all right.
Anyway.
We're bringing in an expert. Maya's going to give us.
We have questions.
We have lots of questions because I mean, labeling questions alone,
Mm-hmm.
feeding your children questions.
Mm-hmm.
So let's find out.
We got a special guest.
Special guest. Our special guest today is Maya Strausberg, who is a nutrition therapist. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Tell us what that means. What is nutrition therapy?
Oh gosh, that's already a heavy question. Nutrition therapy is the idea behind it is that you're offering people nutrition counseling that is catered toward them. It also means that it's science-based. So it's not, I mean, there's obviously some coaching, but it's based in nutrition. It's based in science, if that makes sense.
So that's different than a nutritionist.
So I am a nutritionist
Okay.
as well. So this is where the line gets weird because dietitians can call themselves nutritionists, but
Oh.
nutritionists cannot call themselves dietitians.
What's a dietitian?
Oh.
So a dietitian, a registered dietitian it's a whole different education. And there's a lot of controversy between the two. So I don't want to get too heavy into it, but
You hate
they-
dietitians.
there's this like civil war going on in this
It's
country that you
infinity
guys
war
don't even know
between
about.
dietitians
Yeah.
and nutrition
Is
therapists.
this where I snap my finger and make all the dietitians?
And we all turn to dust.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Right.
what's your focus? What's your MO then?
So one of the reasons why I started doing this was because when my daughter was still breastfeeding, she was one of those babies that like spit up all the time, but not reflux. It was just like constant with a smile on her face, just bleh, like all over me. I was
Aw.
constantly wet, right? We know moms who are just like constantly wet in
Yeah,
the
that was
first
me.
few months.
I'll like never forget the sound. Like you would put him over your shoulder and stand up, and the sound of it hitting the hardwood floor
splat.
behind
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm pretty sure I still have stains in my house somewhere.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
I'm like, I'll see like a little white spot somewhere, and I'm like, is that really 8 years old? Yeah. And the thing that was really scary though was one day she was spitting up and there was like brown in it, and so we went to the doctor and they said, yeah, this is dried blood. We want to put her on Prilosec. And she was like a couple months old, and
oh gosh.
they wanted to put. I mean, I tried it out for a little bit, and then they said, it seems like maybe it's working. We want to keep her on it indefinitely. And I was like, there's got to be another way.
Mm.
So I met with a naturopath, and we like nipped it in the bud through a whole different process. It turned out that antibiotics that I was on from mastitis was probably getting into her system and affecting her. So through that, I was like, food is like where it's at. And so I went back to school, and so I focused on, and my focus continues to be fertility, pregnancy, postpartum, and early childhood nutrition, because that's sort of where my passion is.
Wow.
Totally not appropriate for our audience at
No.
all.
No one's
No.
gonna have
Nobody's
anything
gonna have
to listen
anything to ask
I'm
you.
sorry. I'll leave. You guys can get somebody else.
Thanks. So many questions. Oh my gosh. Okay, so tell us, like, when you're a brand new mom and you're struggling with thinking that every single thing that you feed your baby or that your baby doesn't eat is gonna
Yeah.
kill them.
Yeah.
Like, how does a new mom get over that fear in that stage of life?
Yeah. I mean, and even before that, right? Before we feed them, we're also for moms who are nursing, they're like, is what I'm feeding my
Mhm.
body affecting them through the milk?
Is it?
First, I mean, I think if you look at all the, mommy groups and the boards and the forums and everything, there's always somebody who's saying my baby's nursing and they're having this, and there's always people go, cut out gluten, cut out dairy. Yeah, that can actually have a huge effect. But it doesn't mean everybody needs to cut out dairy. It just means that's a safe thing to try out if your baby is having some health issues. mild health issues. Obviously, if it's more extreme health issues, go see a pediatrician. But if they are having some problems, you can try making changes in your diet while you're breastfeeding, and it's a very safe thing to do if you're removing things, and if you're adding things like, you're trying to increase your fish oil or fish. Those are very safe things to try out without it being a danger to your baby. If that makes sense.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So if you move on into introducing foods, like what's your theory about teaching, starting kids on solids?
Yeah. So
Did you say salads or solids?
Yes.
What's your theory on starting kids on
absolutely
salads?
salads.
My daughter
with
ate a
Caesar
salad
dressing.
when she was 8 months
5 months
old.
old.
She just gummed it. It was like, she loves arugula.
What's your thought about salads?
Solids. Maya,
Solids.
solids.
I think salad would be a really awful first salad. I'll just start with that.
It would just come out whole. Okay, sorry.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's a good way to like gag your baby.
Sure. That's a great way to make gag your baby.
Lettuce pieces. Having said that, we did the baby-led weaning thing. So we started where I was that mom that was like, I'm going to make all my own baby foods.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to be organic. And I mean, we all, I think that.
I did that with my first one, and then my second one, I was like, you will have jars.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so I did start by making my own baby food, and I thought I had to like get the actual product that like makes your you just throw in a blender.
Like
It's a
the
blender.
bullet,
Yeah.
It's a blender
Right.
with a smiley face on it, which just makes me really mad because it's like $50 more.
It is
for the
so
smiley
expensive.
face.
And
Yeah.
you really, I know. And everyone falls for it because the packaging is so darn cute. But then I had it too. And then I was
Yeah.
like, I can just use this other thing in my kitchen that works twice as good
that I already had
and makes 3 times as much.
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, exactly. The Cuisinart was our go-to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did that, and that was great. And then I learned about baby-led weaning, where it's they're eating what you're eating. And I was like, oh, less cooking? Yeah, I'm going to do that thing.
What is that? Wait, I don't know if I actually know what baby-led weaning is.
Yeah. So it's amazing because the idea is that what you're going to be eating, you give them a version of it. It might not always be, if you're eating a raw carrot, babies can't handle raw carrots very well, but you can cook a carrot until it's a little softer. And then you're actually giving them, first of all, like a wider range of things. And there's books out there. I mean, I am not like a certified baby-led weaning, but I'm just a fan of it. But there are books out there that explain it, that you're basically cutting up food that we would eat anyway into sort of finger-sized pieces and giving it to them. And it's also great for their coordination. And they get to sort of eat at the pace that they want. And the biggest fear is that babies are going to choke. That's the obvious thing. But babies naturally bite off things in the size that is suitable for their mouths and throats. And when we take a spoonful of baby food and place it into their mouth, you're actually placing it farther back into their mouths than they would be placing if they're taking bites, which is sort of more in the front of their mouth.
I thought you were going to say that it was like the Alicia Silverstone thing where you chew it up in your mouth and then like mama bird it into their mouth.
That totally creeps me out. I think it's lovely for Alicia. That's awesome for her, but I would never for personal.
I'm trying to think back. I'm pretty sure at some point I have chewed up something and given it to my daughter. Or yeah, but not like not like as like a.
Sure.
I feel like I have the opposite. Like it sounds so gross before you're a mom, and then how many of us have like they eat something and they spit it out, and you're like, well, don't waste it, and you just like eat it.
Oh
yeah.
Maybe
that's where I'm going. Maybe that's what I've done. I've definitely eaten chewed food.
Yes.
I don't know whose it was. Yes.
It all blends together.
So now skip to like you have a baby and you've done all these things, you've read the books, you're doing the stuff, and they just won't eat.
Yes. I don't know what you're talking about, babe. Kids eat everything.
Maybe Evie eats everything.
Evie eats everything except for applesauce and yogurt.
Really?
Yeah, she hates
Those
yogurt.
are such like I think of those as kid friendly.
And juice, no juice. Never had
Like
juice.
my children only eat applesauce and
Sure.
yogurt.
I'm not saying it's. She refuses, but otherwise, yeah.
But
she's
she's
a good
always
eater.
been amazing at trying different things.
But I did. Maybe I did push a lot of food on her, and we talk about this a lot. I think it's just my Germanic heritage has no tolerance for her not eating the food, so she's just forced to eat it.
Yeah. Well,
Which trying to think like what we used to feed her, but yeah, no, she's pretty. She's good. George is good.
Oh my
Our kids are
gosh,
getting
George will eat
better.
anything.
Yeah,
But when she was
except for fish.
Except for fish. Here's my big. I was thinking about this when I knew you were coming on today. My big confession. Ready? Both of my both of my children, when they were babies, they would eat really, really well if they had a tablet or a TV in front of them
Sure.
because they were not focused.
Distracted. Yeah. I mean,
And
don't we
so-
all do that? Like you stand in front of the TV and you're just like, how
Just
did
mouth-
this
Yes.
bag of chips
Right.
disappear?
Oh yeah.
It's the same thing for kids.
So we
Yeah.
used to FaceTime my mom with Georgia, and she would just be like talking to Grammy, and I would just be putting that spoon in her mouth.
Interesting.
And then with Bo, who was so difficult with everything and screamed and cried about everything, I would tell his babysitter to do it. Even I was like, look, if he won't eat his dinner, just put on the tablet and distract him, and then just feed him.
Just shove the food in his mouth.
And I have so much guilt about it. Like I feel like the worst mom in the world. Like that's like probably there's study after study that's just said I ruined my children.
So here's the flip side of that is what I would say. You have guilt about the tablet TV part of it. If you didn't use that, then you would not have the guilt about the screens, but you would have guilt about like, are they eating enough? I did this to them. So like you're just trading one for the other. Like it's not a bad thing that you did because you're prioritizing like my kid needs food. That's an important thing for human beings.
But do you think it had any lasting effect? I mean, like, my daughter loves both my kids really love to eat. They're big eaters, but I'm like, is that because they just like the action of food being stuffed in their mouths? Like, have I affected them long term? Like, are they going to have, issues later?
Well, they don't do it now.
Well, sure. I
They
mean,
do, or they
Georgia
don't?
would have like 4 dinners if she could.
No, I'm saying, but they can eat without a tablet now.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the guilt behind?
I mean, I don't know.
I would say if
I'm
they
very
can't,
self-conscious.
I would say if they can't like actually sit down to a meal without the television, that would be a problem.
Oh,
but
yeah.
if they,
No, they
can,
can.
then yeah, you just got you through a phase.
I honestly, my thing is like, screw it. Like, so what?
Oh,
I'm
No,
more
so what,
curious
really?
is
like you were feeding your kid.
yeah.
yeah.
Good for you.
Okay. Well, good tip, everyone. There you go.
But how do you know? I mean, especially in America, we're just like, more is more. How do you, can you actually underfeed your kid in those years where they're picky and not eating? Do you really need to force them to eat, or can you trust that eventually they're going to be hungry and they'll eat when they're ready? I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes I just feel like we're so obsessed with like the right amount of nutrients and everything has to be 3 square meals a day, which
Right.
isn't necessarily everyone's like timeline for
Yeah.
food intake.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to give your kids an obsession about foods either. Like, I'm eating too much, I'm eating too little. Like
Mhm.
my kid has super long legs. She's super tall. She's pretty thin. And she said to me like not too long ago, like, thank goodness I'm not fat. And I was like, where did that come from? Because I've never said anything like that to her. But there's already so much, they're inundated with so much that like we don't want to make them obsessed about food or weight or even health too much. So, I mean, for the most part, yes, like kids don't tend to starve themselves, but that's not always true, right? I mean, especially kids on the spectrum, they are capable of doing that, of sort of going like, I will
Forgetting.
not eat this. I will not eat, especially like, cause kids on the spectrum too, like it's not just about flavor, right? We know that like the feeling that the mouth feel, if it's too mushy or it's too crunchy or whatever it is. So that's, and especially early on, because we don't, if you haven't had any sort of diagnosis, you don't know what kind of kids you're working with. It can be really scary. Like, I know parents who have been worried because they're like, my kid doesn't like mushy food. Is my kid autistic? And you're like, okay,
Well,
whoa,
I mean, I don't like mushy food.
Right,
Like everyone
right.
has a taste.
Exactly. And so we can worry ourselves to death with that kind of stuff. So for the most part, I mean, as long as I had a teacher in nutrition school who said it's not about the day-to-day what they're eating. Look at it more in the week. Like if they have some days where they just don't eat much or they don't eat many vegetables and fruits or whatever it is, but they make up for it on other days. Look at it more in that like bigger picture.
I like that.
I like that for myself.
Yes.
Right?
Sure.
You're like, wow, I ate like shit today, but I'm going to make up for it
Well, God, I mean,
when we tour. It's like,
otherwise we would be dead.
I know. I actually just realized I forgot to eat anything today. I'm
I
like
don't-
sitting here
You have
shaking.
coffee
I
that
have
counts,
no
right?
idea if I had food today.
I know, it's so funny.
God.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
But the
we're
children, we're always
intermittent
concerned about the
fasting, yeah.
children.
Well, it gets to the, I mean, you guys have heard the term 80-20, like
Oh,
eat
yes.
healthy 80% of the time and then unhealthy. It's, I mean, don't make it a goal. Like if you're like, oh, I'm at 99%, maybe I should eat less healthy. But, you know, if you're eating unhealthy, then say, okay, well, I should try to build up to 80% on the healthy part. So it's the same with kids. I mean, if the week is an 80-20, great.
So what do you think? Like, I mean, I know also I feel like this society, we're always like, whatever works for you, but there has to be like guidelines. There has to be things that kids need to eat or things that we
Yeah.
shouldn't feed our kids, generally speaking. Like, what are those things that we really need to look for nutrition wise?
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, the easiest way to answer that is also the sort of like elitist thing, which is avoid processed foods, right? It's like so easy to say, like, oh, I'm just gonna make all my food from scratch, and or you know, even when we eat out, we're gonna go to, I don't know, you know, whatever fancy restaurant you have in town.
Hail me crazy.
Hail me crazy. We're gonna eat smoothies for every meal out, but that's not realistic. And yet, the less processed foods, the more you're avoiding things like, I mean, trans fats. There's no healthy amounts of trans fats. So there's other things that you should avoid. Trans fats is just like 0 if possible.
So
what
what
about what about cis fats?
I know it sounds like a joke, but that's actually what they're called. So
What?
I'm
What?
sorry to ruin your joke.
Oh my
that's
god.
hysterical.
That's amazing.
That's really funny.
um
That's hysterical. Okay, what has trans fats in it?
So
I mean, seriously,
I'm
can we
so
even say that these days?
I don't think you
Oh my God. What has
I know
I
it
don't
sounded
even
so
know.
funny, and yet I didn't want to ruin it.
I
for
know
you.
it's just like radio silence. Thanks, guys.
it took me
It did take Tracy a good 3 seconds. I looked right at her.
I'm like, what? What did she just say? Okay, gotcha.
So trans fats comes from hydrogenated oils and fats. So the food industry back in the day created these trans fats because they are more shelf stable, and they're have that better mouthfeel. So if you've ever made cookies with like oil instead of butter, and they're like super flat and like oily and greasy in your mouth, they're just awful. So it's taking a fat that would ordinarily be liquid and making it solid because it just tastes better. And but there are there are solid fats that you can use anyway, like butter or like coconut oil or lard.
yeah.
Which I know everybody thinks lard is like evil, but it's not that
Isn't
bad.
that like is that what oleo is?
No, that's processed.
That's super processed.
Yeah.
Lard is just it's an animal
it's
fat.
meat fat.
Yeah.
It's meat fat.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. And nowadays, I mean, you can go to all the like hipster butcher shops and like
Yeah.
be like, can I pay $20 for a little jar of
Oh,
lard?
my husband collects lard.
Yeah.
In the it drives me absolutely
He
fucking
said
crazy.
collects lard like he went out and like
No,
like
tracked,
extract
no,
tracked
but
lard.
I don't know if it's a southern thing, but he keeps all the bacon
that does
fat.
sound like a
But
Southern thing.
please take it to the garage refrigerator because it is like
Just
it cannot
bacon fat.
fit anything else. There's like just huge
Does he
jars.
and he cooks with it?
Yeah.
That's good. That's not very
Well,
wasteful.
now I know. Now I know it's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I mean, it has to be a good quality. So you don't want to get like, you know, I mean, you don't want, if you went to McDonald's and you had like grease left over from your burger, you wouldn't want to save that fat and use it because that's like crappy
Sure.
meat that's going to have crappy oils in it.
Right.
And
Interesting.
that might be an obvious, I don't know, is that an obvious statement?
No,
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 it's
Don't
not.
collect your McDonald's fat.
No.
Okay.
I mean, we should be clear.
Yeah.
So okay, so trans fats. So then what foods contain trans fat? Like let's talk about goldfish.
Oh yeah, I have like a whole list of things I want to ask you about.
Yeah, I have.
Oh,
I
no.
mean, I just feel like this world runs on goldfish, and is
Yeah.
there any nutritional like attributes to goldfish?
Even the whole
whatsoever?
wheat ones.
God,
I would say, well, do kids eat the whole wheat ones? My daughter's gluten free, so like I don't know. I mean, I know obviously I grew up eating goldfish, but like she didn't, so I haven't looked at the ingredients list of goldfish in a really long
well,
time.
it's like 50 ingredients first of all,
right.
but I mean, are they? I mean, what's that? What's
They're-
that doing?
I mean, it's really about your sanity more than anything else. Like the short answer is no. There's not much nutritional value to goldfish.
It's filler. It fills you
It
up.
is. It
It's
is
good-
filler. It's and I don't know. dexterity for when the kids like when they're little and they're like picking
Yeah.
up their little goldfish.
Oh, sure.
I would say, I mean, even, well, yeah. So there was some, oh God, I can't remember who it was saying, in the US, we give our kids goldfish crackers. And in like Asian countries, they literally give their kids like these like tiny little dried fish.
I was going to say
Those-
they give them actual fish.
They give them they had these like, I don't know what kind of fish it is. They're like tiny, tiny little dried fish.
Oh yeah, I've seen them at H Mart.
Yes.
You can get you get them by
H
like
Mart.
yeah, you
Yes.
get like giant.
Oh my God, my kids would.
Oh God,
They're
I would.
super stinky.
Yeah.
They're very
Oof.
fishy.
Yeah.
And I think they taste delicious. But
You-
and there's also like little shrimp as well.
Yeah.
Like the little shrimp ones. They are, I mean, do not go on a plane with one. I'm pretty
Well,
sure.
you're getting all your
Southwest would
omega
kick you out.
3s, I suppose. If
Yes.
kids are
Holy
nibbling
moly.
on those.
They're
Oy.
at protein, good
Yeah.
healthy fats. I mean, I don't know how much they add salt to them. I'm sure you can probably get
I
unsalted
bet
ones,
they
but
are.
Let me ask you about the every kid calls them something different, like the chewies, like the fruit
oh,
snack.
the gummy
Oh.
things.
Fruit
Yeah.
Okay,
snacks.
so I mean, fruit snacks are a staple in our house.
Yeah.
When other kids come over, they go to the pantry. Everyone gets a
Sure.
fruit snack.
Yeah.
I mean, what the hell is it?
Sugar.
Yeah, it's pretty much sugar. I mean, some are made with like fruit juice, but it's not like it's fruit juice instead of sugar. It's just in addition to. So, and it's interesting because we do keep them in our house, but I try not to put them in my daughter's lunch more than like once or twice a week, just out of
that's
my
kind.
own.
I'd never put them in their lunches.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But
Yeah.
like, it's funny because kids will come over, like my daughter's friends, and some kids are like, "What's this?" Because we have like the Annie's brand. Because I
Oh,
tell
yeah.
myself that they're healthier. They're
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
not at all. But I do look at the sugar content when I like, especially if I'm buying them at Costco and I'm like going to commit to a giant amount of them.
Sure.
The Welch's. What is there
The
like a Welch's
Welch's.
one?
Or there's just like the Kirklands, like
Uh-huh.
the
Sure.
yeah, really high in sugar. So and then they're like, ooh, organic, and you're like, organic,
But still
what?"
sugar. Yeah.
Okay.
But when my daughter's friends come over, some of them are like, "What is this brand?" Because to them they're like not as sweet, I guess, as some
Oh,
of
the
the
Annie's.
more generic ones. And then other kids are like, "I don't know. My mom said I can't have a treat today," and I'm like, "Oh,
Oh, because they're kind of a treat.
yeah." To some kids that's a treat, and to other
Mhm.
kids that's like, "Where's my candy?"
I get George has been giving me shit lately because apparently everyone else in class gets a treat in their lunch.
Yeah.
Like a candy
Uh-oh.
bar or like
a whole candy bar?
well, yeah, I think like a mini candy bar,
Oh.
but she's always like and she's like naming the other kids who get something sweet in their lunch.
We've had a similar
I
conversation.
pack treats. Me, the
You
hippie.
do?
I do.
I feel really
She gets
bad.
a treat every time.
I feel like she would just eat the treat. Am I just being
Well,
I
it's not a
didn't
big
realize I was
one.
so conservative.
You know where I learned it from is Weelicious, and like I used to watch her because she does like all those lunchbox like kind of, and she's always like just give a little sweet, like so it's like 2 M&Ms or something.
You give
Yeah.
your daughter 2 M&Ms in her lunch, like 2?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
It's a
Is that-
treat.
Is that like a
Is that,
tease?
are you
I
saying
don't-
that's bad or
no.
good?
I'm just saying that's such a small amount.
I know, but it's a treat.
oh, okay.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be
I could
like
get into that.
yeah. Like today, I gave her 3 gummy bears.
And yet yesterday I went to Starbucks in the afternoon and brought home 2 cake pops. So it's not like I'm not giving
Yeah.
them.
Right. It's in the lunch. Feels like that's where you draw the line.
Why? What is this about me? It's so
I don't know. My
strange.
husband is like that with chocolate. Like we'll get like, you guys know the Bobo bars,
Yeah.
or Bobo bites. So we'll get those sometimes as like the snack. And my husband's like, but not the chocolate chip ones. And I'm like, I've looked at the ingredients list and it's not.
Because they're that much worse. Or he
I
thinks
think
they're
he
worse.
just wants chocolate to feel like a treat. I don't know.
Oh,
But
interesting.
But you know, this gets into the idea of like good foods and bad foods, which I think is also a dangerous thing to set kids up for, because how often? I mean, we do that to ourselves too. Like,
Mhm.
if I eat this, then I can eat this, or like treating things as a reward, or and when we do that, we're defining certain foods as like being a treat or being like, I don't know, tastier or whatever it is. But you're also saying that like that other food that you have to eat is bad. And then they have these associations, right? Like even if it's a vegetable that they ate a ton, like my daughter loves peas. She just thinks they're hilarious to just suck into her mouth one at a time, just like boop, boop, boop. And she just thinks they're so fun. But then she'll get halfway through and look down and go, "Ugh, how many peas do I have to eat before I can have a treat?" And we're like, you were loving your peas until you realized that this was like a quote unquote bad food, right? Or not a bad food, a
right.
good food, like in terms of a healthy.
That just earned you something else
Yeah.
that you enjoy more.
Yeah.
So well, in that scenario, then it's the reward at the end of the meal that's the harmful thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I don't think, I mean, I always have a hard time even with the word treat, but then I don't know how to get around that.
I mean, I understand good versus bad. And I talk about this with my kid all the time because she's like the rule following,
My daughter's the
very
same way.
conscious, you know, and I'm like, dude, if you eat McDonald's, you're definitely not going to die in our house. This is the focus that we have, but we're going to eat fast food as a family. It's going to happen. I'm never going to get mad at you for it, but I want you to make good choices. And like, you know, how do you raise them to understand what food is? And so they don't default to just like the
What
bad
we
choices.
did as teenagers.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew
Yeah.
nothing.
And train them to eat the good food without them thinking that it's bad, you know, like
I think one of the best ways to do that is, and I tried to talk to my daughter about this, but I mean, look, I'm a nutritionist and it's still like, she still doesn't get it, but there are certain things that she gets. The one of the best things you can do is to explain to them some of the benefits of the foods that they eat that are healthier. So when they come home and they're like, you know, I'm so tired. And you go, well, maybe it sounds like maybe we needed to put some more protein in your lunch today. Let's talk about what foods have protein. Explaining to kids, it's not just saying this is good, this is bad. It's like, what are the benefits of this? Why is this good?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, carrots are good for your eyes. So do you want to see better at night? Let's eat some more carrots.
See, I go the opposite. I'll be like, you'll be blind if you don't eat this carrot.
Make
Good
it a
job.
superpower.
Your eyes will fall out.
I think it works with like definitely like younger kids, like 3 and 4, but like superpowers.
Oh yeah. No, that's
Oh.
smart.
Yeah. Superman
Sure.
had, you know, well, no, he had like laser vision. I can't promise my kid laser vision.
yeah, I was like, you're kind of setting them up for disappointment if you're promising straight up superpowers.
No.
Like, at some point around
Popeye's
12
a
or
great
13,
example.
they're just going to be like, I am not flying. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I
no
know,
more
there's-
carrots. Pass the gummy bears.
I can't think of a food that you can pretend will help you fly either.
I think where I
know.
struggle is like, you know, we go to the
Beans.
movies, for example, and the sizes of these things. I mean, that's 3 people could eat those
You
milk
buy
duds.
candy at the movie theater?
Am I
Yeah.
not supposed to?
Girl,
sneak
you
it
gotta go.
in.
You gotta sneak it in. Evie's like, she's got it down. You gotta go to Walgreens to get the candy or the dollar store. You shove it at the bottom of your purse with your booze, and then you go see a movie.
Well, I
Plus it's
have
cheaper.
I'm with you, Tracy.
It's way
Yeah.
cheaper. It's way cheaper. I agree. I just, for some reason, the kids like have so much fun going to the counter at the movies. I know it's stupid. It's a waste of money.
They have fun going. They'll have fun going and picking it out at the store.
Yeah.
And then my
You're
rule
right.
following kid, it took a few movies to be like, we're not going to go to jail. Shut up. Don't say anything. Mom's going in with the candy in her purse.
Oh, yeah.
We do not
That's not my-
have these in her bag.
Yeah, my daughter will look at me and be like, "Mom, you can tell that there's something in your purse."
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
"Shh,
Oh, yeah.
shh."
She has to arrange and make sure. Yeah,
That's
it's so
because you've
funny.
got a canvas bag and a wine bottle,
I
Maya,
know. It's the booze.
You're
that's
just
the
giving away
scarier
my
part.
secrets.
and a straw. A
Yeah.
metal
A
straw.
metal
is good
straw,
for the
yeah,
environment.
yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
Why else were Hydro Flasks made if not to carry rosé to the movie theater?
or to swim
or
practice.
or pre-made Manhattans if you're
Just
me.
don't get your water bottle mixed up with their water bottle.
Yep, that's happened. Yeah.
oh my gosh.
I did. This is now that since we're doing confessions, I had one of my best friends is vegan, and she was visiting me, and Emma, my daughter Emma, and I got really into this one brand of protein bars, and we were eating them, and we told her to take a bite, and she said, "What's in it?" And we said, "We'll tell you after you've eaten it." And she took a bite, and she was like, "It's pretty good. What's the protein?" And we said, "It's
Way.
no crickets."
Ah!
She was kind of mad at me for a while. Even though it was like, I mean, it's, you know, eating bugs is very different than eating meat.
I was going
think,
to say,
but
is that, I mean, sure it
she-
is.
To her, it was like, I
life.
took a life.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
interesting.
you guys are eating cricket bars over there.
I can't find them anymore, but my daughter's like really into the idea of eating bugs.
Huh.
Yeah.
Why? Just like
Um,
as protein or just she like
yeah, it's protein.
Okay.
Yeah. No, she's not like eating bugs off the ground or anything. Like we went to the butterfly pavilion and they did this whole
She's like,
presentation.
those look like
She's like,
delicious
"She's
snacks.
The-
She's just popping them in her
Popping
mouth.
out of the air.
They
Just
were like-
catching a wing.
She's got a little dipper of
They were
ketchup.
like, "Kid, you need to stop eating our bugs." They gave this presentation on like how bugs are eaten around the world.
Yeah.
and she
Mm.
was sold. They had ranch flavored crickets, and she was
Was all
sold.
in.
And there's this local restaurant that during happy hour you can get like queso dip, and they will serve it with crickets on top. And she wants it every time we go. And she tells people I eat bugs, and I'm like, it's not exact. I got a phone call from a parent who was like freaked out. My daughter is saying that your daughter eats bugs, and I need to prove to her that that's not true. And I was like, she has eaten bugs. She
Oh,
doesn't
that's funny.
eat bugs. She has eaten bugs before.
Mm. Oh my gosh.
That's
Okay.
fascinating.
Tracy's
It is a big
face.
deal.
What are these?
People eat
What are
bugs.
these protein bars?
So I can't find them anymore. They used to be. I used to get them every once in a while, and they are made with like cricket flour.
Okay.
So
Just ground up
I
crickets.
do. I will say I am a little squeamish about the like eating bugs, but the cricket flour for some reason doesn't bother me as much. And they're like chocolate flavored, and they're delicious and sustainable. Like they're
Mhm.
smaller carbon footprint and very high in protein for the amount that you're getting. So
Well,
Yeah.
everybody knows that Tracy and I are obsessed with perfect bars. That is our
That's our
go-to.
thing.
That's what I forgot to eat this morning. It's pretty much my breakfast every day.
are you waiting for me to bash them? Is that
Yeah.
the I don't
I'm,
know
like,
what's in it.
nervous.
What's in it?
Peanut
Honey,
butter?
peanut butter,
basically
chocolate chips.
Yeah. It's vegan protein. I don't even know if there's,
Is-
hold on. I have mine because I haven't eaten mine either. Hold on.
So one of my first questions for like bars like this is always is the first ingredient dates, because so many
No.
of them are, and then they're really high in sugar.
I don't like dates.
Okay. Because like
these are really high.
the Lara bars
I think these are
very
higher
high
in sugar. But Lara bars are one of the only things Chris can have on Whole30, but they don't have sugar in them.
My daughter does
they don't
love
have
Lara
the-
bars.
Yeah,
yeah,
they're-
artificial.
Oh, okay. I have seen these. They have to stay refrigerated, right?
Yeah,
That's like
okay.
Yeah, but they
one-
can be out of the fridge for a week.
Oh.
Okay, yeah. All right. So it's got 25 grams of carbs, 18 grams of sugar.
That's a lot.
First ingredient is peanut butter, then honey. Wait, I thought these were vegan.
No.
Uh-oh.
I literally thought these were vegan.
Why is there whey in it?
Yeah. Non-fat dry milk.
Yeah, not vegan.
Not vegan at all. And egg powder. Oh,
Totally not
God,
vegan.
I have to
Oh, no,
rethink these.
poor
I'm so sad
Tracy.
right now.
Oh, have you guys been talking about so that like you think some vegan
But
listeners?
so why would you want that to be vegan? Explain to me what the difference is. Do you get sick or something?
I gave up a lot of dairy a while ago. I'm just better without it. I don't break out as much. And
but
that's
your
why,
skin's been gorgeous on these.
yeah, you're right. It has.
It's
So maybe
it's
it's
probably
enough.
such a small.
But that's
amount.
why I don't drink the isogenic shakes anymore, which we loved because I couldn't do the whey. It was
Right.
like too much and I can't find a vegan protein powder that I like. I'm not totally, obviously I should have known because it's chocolate, but everything else it's got like, so it's got egg powder, then it's got
It sounds pretty good. so far.
kale, flaxseed,
delicious.
rose
They
hip,
hid kale in there.
orange, organic tomato, apple, alfalfa, celery, kelp, dulse, carrot.
You're gonna have to
spinach.
stop talking now because you've ruined perfect bars
Dul-
for me.
Like I'm upset about the milk and you're upset about the healthy things.
And dulse is a sea vegetable. It's really good.
Yeah,
For you. That sounds really good. And it says 15 grams of protein. That's
25 grams. Oh, that's carbs. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
That's
I was like,
carbs.
that
Where's
outside is
protein?
lying.
Oh yeah, 15 grams of protein.
Oh yeah, it's on the top of the front.
These are.
No, that sounds pretty good.
They are 320 calories a bar. So
I mean, it's a meal
That's a
replacement.
meal,
it's a
yeah.
total meal
Yeah.
replacement.
That's our breakfast.
Yeah, I
is-
think the problem with bars tends to be when people like use them as like a snack, and you're actually consuming either a lot of protein, which is what most people want them for. But then if it's look at the sugar. I try to tell clients to keep the sugar under 10 grams on a protein
Yeah.
bar.
Oof. But how good
It-
is that going to taste? It's going to taste like crickets.
Yeah. mm.
This is 18 grams of sugar.
And then the other thing is like the source of the protein, right? Like this sounds pretty good.
it's peanuts basically is the protein.
And egg whites.
But that's like way down.
Oh, okay.
Peanuts and milk.
Yeah, peanuts are very high in protein, so that's not.
Yeah.
Too
And
spicy.
people have a lot of feelings about peanuts.
Yes.
Well, peanuts kills people.
Well, there's
yeah.
that.
Well, if you're allergic to peanuts,
Don't eat
this
a
bar.
perfect-
Don't eat a perfect
Don't even
bar.
walk by a perfect bar, for Christ's sake. They're all
true.
peanut based. Yeah.
So I think one of the concerns with peanuts, I don't think it's necessarily like a bad thing, but peanuts tend to be higher. This is going to gross people out, but they tend to be higher in mildew than a lot of other because they're it's a legume and not a nut, a tree nut. So they tend to be higher in mildew, just the way that they're processed and where they come from and all that stuff. So that's my only real concern about peanuts, and it's not a big concern.
The mildew.
When I was going through fertility
just
treatments,
the mildew.
my acupuncturist wouldn't let me eat peanuts because she also said that they're like super highly sprayed. So you should try to eat organic because it's like otherwise
Yeah.
you're just eating a mouthful of like pesticides.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially, I mean, because they grow in the ground, they're
Mhm.
going to absorb anything that's in the ground. So anything that grows in the ground. I mean, it's like potatoes, for
Yes.
example.
Oh yeah, you
Like,
have to eat organic ones.
non-organic potatoes are some of the highest in pesticides and
I
herbicides.
did not know that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like I read this thing, even farmers won't eat their own unorganic potatoes. They're really, really
I thought that anything with like a thick skin was okay, non-organic.
That's true of like fruits and
Citrus
things. Yeah.
and
So
bananas.
citrus is something because, but I mean, anything can have some in it, obviously. But when it grows in the ground, it's absorbing the nutrients from the dirt, but it's also absorbing the toxins from the dirt.
Wow.
Yeah,
No, I-
definitely buy organic potatoes. Like
Really
for
put a
sure.
damper on my potatoes.
Says the girl who
I feel
eats
like I've
French
told you
fries
so many
every
sad
city that
things,
she's ever
so-
been to in her life. But
Wow.
if you can, eat the
80-20,
organic.
baby.
Yeah,
80-20.
80-20. There you go.
Except when you're on tour, then it's just try to
It's like
survive.
80.
You just reverse the
You just-
20-80.
yeah,
Sounds about right.
Um,
You just eat. if
the
there's
other
food.
thing about like the protein source in these protein bars, like I would say as much as possible, avoid anything where the protein source is soy protein isolate.
Mm.
Now, so let's talk about soy.
Oh, yeah.
What- Let's talk
I'm-
about soy, baby. So what's the deal? Why is it so bad on your hormones?
So soy isn't inherently bad necessarily. We tend to like Americanize these
Anything
things that-
good.
yeah. So we looked at Japanese people and said they're healthy. Let's do what they're doing. They eat soy. Well, they eat like small amounts of mostly fermented soy, which
Yeah.
is like a totally different animal.
Right.
And we started throwing soy at everything. And then once it was subsidized, like once the soy industry was subsidized, that now it's really in everything. I mean, and it's given to livestock and just
Because
all
it's
kinds of stuff.
it's cheap to grow and it's a cheap
Yeah.
form of protein.
It's very high in protein, but over 95% of soy is GMO. And I'm not going to like get into a debate about GMO because some people are pro and some people whatever. But I will say this about GMO. The whole concept of GMOs is that one of the ways that you genetically modify foods is to be able to withstand more pesticides and herbicides. So whether or not you believe genetically modifying is a good thing or a bad thing, if you think that pesticides and herbicides are a bad thing, then you're getting more of that in genetically modified foods.
Because they're basically grown with it like in its DNA.
Yeah.
The foods. So that no bug or weed can attack it so they can grow more. So you're just eating mouthfuls of pesticides and herbicides.
this is when you eat GMO food.
And
GMO and
soy is
soy.
one of the biggest culprits.
Yeah,
Like
soy and corn as
Mhm.
well.
So when you buy organic edamame, for example,
Yeah.
what's the deal?
So that's going to be better, right? I mean, just anything, it's going to be better. But soy still, I'm a big fan. Like I'm on Instagram and I hashtag all the cheesy hashtags, and one of the hashtags I do is soy in moderation. I'm not anti-soy. I just feel like we are absolutely overusing it. So as much as you can, organic, but then also fermented when you can.
So give me an example of fermented soy. Like what would I be eating that has fermented soy in it?
Soy
Miso,
sauce?
some soy
Oh,
sauce.
okay. Because I was actually worried because my daughter loves miso soup and I've been giving her it in her lunches, but I know that soy affects hormones, so I try not to
Yeah.
give it to her very much.
So that's the other thing about soy is that soy contains what are called phytoestrogens. So they mimic the estrogens in our body. It's not great for young. I mean, again, in moderation is one thing, but like lots of it is especially for young kids, especially for young boys. They actually there's this theory that one of the reasons it's why we're seeing so many young boys with, like, I hate to use this term, but like man boobs, and it's not even when it's not like a weight issue, is because of the phytoestrogens, because of so much soy that we're getting.
I saw an article about that, and it also said that there's a difference in the length of their taint. Not kidding.
Oh, I think
Did you see that?
I did see that.
Super weird. So does everybody know what a taint is? Not
no.
you just want me to have to say it.
I think I do, but
I'm
why
selling
don't you-
because I'm not going to explain it, so go for it.
isn't it underneath
Neither
the
balls nor ass.
Okay.
So it's
Okay, I
it's
guess I
that
did know.
space. And so they were saying that like soy was affecting the size, the length of. It wasn't in the article called a taint, by the way.
It was there
The
neither.
space.
It was there neither balls nor ass.
space.
The space
Space.
between.
Yeah.
Interesting.
which is totally
But the crazy thing about soy is, like you said, so not every, definitely don't like drink 2 cups of soy milk every day.
Right.
That's going to get to you. And
Which was like a big, like in the 90s.
I mean, I still
felt
get
like that was
soy
still-
as a treat at
As a
Starbucks,
treat.
like a soy
Sure.
latte because it's got the vanilla in it.
Yeah.
It's sweet.
but and an edamame for dinner, twice a
Sure.
month. I mean, you couldn't possibly eat enough to like, but it's the overtime. But the problem is that it's fed to animals. So if you eat, and it's in eggs, so like your cows and your chickens and stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
then you're just, you are what you eat. So you're taking it in through whatever animal products.
Yeah,
consume
even when you're
soy,
not getting
too.
it directly from the soy,
Yeah.
you're still getting it
So
from
it's
the
just,
animals.
it's
who eat
like
the soy.
everywhere right now.
Well, what
Yeah.
about like cage-free eggs, free-range eggs, that kind of stuff is not soy fed?
You have to look and see.
Yeah, sometimes it'll say, but I mean, you kind of have to know what you're looking for. It's just,
And you have to have an extra $5
Mhm.
for
yeah, and a
that thing of
PhD in
eggs.
reading labels.
Sure.
Well,
Yeah.
isn't it pasture raised eggs? And if they're on a vegetarian non-soy diet,
Yeah,
that's
it'll
what you
say
want.
non-soy, but even vegetarian diet. First of all,
We'll
can I
say-
just
could be
say
soy.
that like chickens aren't vegetarians? So this thing that they brag about
Right,
vegetarian
they all
fed,
eat worms.
yeah. I mean, I mean, we have chickens, so like we're very proud of our chickens, and they find bugs and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
they're now I know what they mean. They're not giving them like animal byproducts,
Right.
is what they're saying. But it's like it's a weird brag. You know what I mean? Like they're like vegetarian
Right.
fed.
Our chickens are vegetarian.
Yeah, you're right.
We've
We're
got
not giving them
vegan
ground
chicken.
beef. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say though, at Vitamin Cottage Natural Grocers, they have pasture raised soy free eggs, and they're like dollars cheaper than everywhere else.
Yes.
Oh, really?
They're like, I think you
I
can get
wait
a dozen.
to buy them there.
Yeah, now they have like limits. They're so good. They're like, I don't know, they're like $2.99
Why are you
a
buying
dozen.
eggs if you have chickens?
Because they stopped laying in the winter.
Oh, girl,
it's
me
every-
too.
Well, but it's I mean, it's so bad because we get these great eggs and then we go to the store
And
and
you're all
even
snobby.
even the like, $8 a dozen eggs, I'm like, they're all right.
There's nothing like a
So
fresh
sad.
chicken egg, man. They're
Yeah.
so good.
Okay,
But I will
interesting.
we have this one chicken who's a total bitch. And so if you're thinking about chickens, like there's pros and cons. So
You've got a bitchy chicken.
What's
she's
her name?
awful.
Yeah, does she have a name?
Her name's Curious.
Oh,
Curious the bitch chicken.
Yeah. I warn people because we have chicken sitters sometimes when we go out of town, and I have to say, like, watch out. She's a
Oh,
bitch.
will she like attack you?
Yes.
Well, I also just want to say that chicken is a delicious dinner option. So,
Yeah.
all right,
Oh.
listen up, curious.
Yeah. Your
I
days
know.
are numbered,
Your days-
sister.
She has no idea. Like, just piss me off one more time. Just
That's right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sure.
Just with my bare hands, just a
I mean, doesn't take
Ooh,
much.
do you have it in you?
no. I definitely don't have it in me.
All right, so stay away from soy.
Well,
okay.
Soy in moderation is
So the miso soup-
organic fermented.
Oh, yeah, so
when
miso
possible.
soup.
So I've been only buying organic. I'm very conscious of her hormones because she's 8 and
Yeah.
it's the beginning of a long and so I try not to give it to her that much. She really likes it. Seems like a healthy lunch.
Yeah. So go out of your way to get organic miso.
I
if
do.
you can. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I use miso for all kinds. I spread it on sandwiches.
Well, she's
Um,
you're talking about
Miso,
miso paste, which is very fermented, like years. You're talking about
the powder, Do you do
like
the powder?
miso soup out of a packet, probably, or
yeah, it comes out as a paste and then you stir
Oh.
it.
Yeah. So that would be, I mean, the other thing about miso is it can be high in sodium, but mostly with kids, you don't have to worry about like too much sodium in their diet. Sodium is like, we're also, again, this is sort of like growing up in the 80s, like we're so scared of sodium and cholesterol and fat, but sodium for the most part, I mean, unless you actually have a blood pressure issue, most people don't have to worry about sodium. Oh, and to all the pregnant ladies out there, you actually need more sodium. So salt it up. And because
Get salty.
the embryonic fluid is really high in really high in sodium, and so you actually need more than usual. So a lot of women when they're pregnant like have all those like salt cravings, and that's
Ooh, that's
because you
why.
need more. But
Interesting.
again, like don't do like processed sodium foods because there's like a big there's a difference
Some
between-
lady right now is like, I'm going through McDonald's
Yeah.
to get the French fries.
Yeah.
Right now.
they're gonna do like a fast food crawl.
Mhm.
There's the like those really expensive like pink Himalayan salt
Mhm.
things.
Oh yeah.
Those are actually really great. I mean, it's
Strong.
It seems they're strong. You don't need as much of them. They're actually like slightly lower in sodium, and they're higher in other minerals. So they're actually it's really
So
it's
just
good
for salt.
you.
Yeah. And we have
Yeah.
fleur de sel.
The gray stuff.
Well, no,
Is
it's
it the-
white.
oh.
There's this one brand, but it's like a finishing salt. So you just sprinkle it on the top and it's so strong and it's so good. But we call it crack salt in my
Mhm.
house. So now my daughter is like at a restaurant. She's like, do they have crack? And I have to figure out a way. But everyone, like my mom, like everyone calls it crack salt because it's so good.
It's like the flakes. The,
Yeah. And
That
it's
sounds
Where
really
do you get it?
gosh, these days
Fancy
anywhere.
store.
There's Maldon, Maldon. That's pretty. I'm pretty sure you can get it like King Supers. And then there's this one fleur de sel that I know you can get at Whole Foods. It kind of
Natural
pops up random
grocers.
natural grocers maybe. I know, like at like Williams Sonoma. I don't know, Amazon.
When
It's
I
so
made your
delicious.
salmon dish last, I didn't realize that Chris had put that pink Himalayan salt in our salt
so
thing.
strong.
Yeah, and so the fish, because you're supposed to in the bottom of the pan put the salt
Yeah.
and pepper, and so we were like, "God, why is this so
Oh,
salty?"
Oh yeah, I have to keep it separate.
Especially if it's like a coarser.
Yeah, we did it like the coarse and the like. I didn't realize
Oh.
that's what was in the grinder. Or I saw that it was pink. I didn't realize there was a difference.
so
So,
strong. Yeah,
good to
salt.
know.
There's one called Real Salt, and it's from Utah, and it's also like that high mineral pink, and it's not as expensive as some of the like fancy
Oh.
international
Oh.
salts.
Real salt. Is that also crack salt though?
I mean, it's
Can we all just call it crack salt?
Yes,
because the giant flake, like there's something about that like giant.
Oh, it's so
not fleur de
satisfying.
sel. It's not fleur. It's that.
it is satisfying to
Those
do a
big
little.
flakes. Yeah.
And if you guys have ever done like go to those spice shops like Penzies and
Mm-hmm.
Savory and stuff,
Mhm.
they have these smoked salts. They're like black gray,
Mhm.
and they oh my god, they're amazing.
What
so
do you put it on?
all of that, you can do all that you want because that's like good salt and like you said, it's got minerals.
Don't
don't, like, eat it by the
crazy. Don't be like
spoon.
Maya Strausberg said.
but there's a big difference between that and
Yes,
McDonald's French fries.
Yes,
in terms of salt,
Right.
or like a can of soup.
But
Like,
if you
which is, like,
if you're
sodium,
hungover and you need something a little salty,
Go to Taco
Yeah.
Bell like Shay
But
and I do.
again,
or just get a quarter pounder from McDonald's. 'cause
hopefully,
that is
hopefully,
pure.
if you're pregnant, you're not hungover.
Oh
Let me
yeah,
just-
sorry.
Getting
I
back
got-
to the
Don't
original
do that.
point.
Sorry. I got on my own tangent because last week was Sarah O's opening.
Oh my gosh.
And Tracy and I are, 41 years old and woke up. Both of us were like, I am so hungover.
well,
Like,
it's because
how
we
did that
didn't
happen?
because we didn't eat dinner, and you can't do that in your 40s. Like
Oh
you
my
can't drink and
God.
skip dinner. I can't skip dinner like just as a human, let alone like and then drink on top
I
of
had,
it.
it was one of those nights where my tongue was a pumice stone all
Oh my
night, where you
gosh.
wake up and
You know it's coming.
but you're too nauseous and tired and hungover to get up and get the water.
Yes.
'Cause you wanna
even
wake the
sometimes
family.
drinking the water, you're just like, I can't.
Oh,
It was
swallow
real rough, but
It
it
was
was
just
nothing.
wine.
It was just wine, but it was nothing that a handful of vitamins and some Taco Bell didn't cure for me the next day.
Oh.
Oh,
I
you know what? Okay, so here, nutritional thing. I'll just bring it back. Electrolytes. So one of the reasons why, I mean, we know, right? One of the reasons why we get hungover is because we're dehydrated, and so one of the best things you can do is electrolytes.
Mhm.
So you can, and that does not mean like go out and buy Gatorade because I mean there's so much other crap in there besides electrolytes. But you can make your own electrolyte drink, which is super easy. It's I take a mason jar and I put a pinch of good quality salt, a squeeze of lemon, and a little bit of honey, and shake it up until it's all mixed, and it tastes like a not crappy Gatorade. It's
Mm.
fantastic. It'll totally hydrate you. Coconut water is
Oh, yeah.
also very high in electrolytes, so that's another good one.
I have a
I hate
problem
drinking coconut
I hate
water.
coconut. That's the thing. It's like the taste.
Oh,
If
I
I'm
love it.
hungover, I'm already
I
nauseous.
put it in
can't deal.
smoothies because I know it's like
It hydrates it.
hydrating, but I can't do it. People love it. I just
Chris
can't do
loves it.
Now
Ugh.
there's all these flavors of coconut water. I don't know. I
No,
saw
thank
one that
you.
was chocolate. I was like, you're not fooling anyone. That's not going to taste like
But
chocolate.
why drink coconut water when you can go to Taco Bell and have a Dr. Pepper?
There is that. There is that. By
I
the way,
mean-
you guys are scaring me about the 40 talk because my birthday, I'm turning 40 in 2 days.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Total tangent.
I'm
I
so
just had to
excited
mention
for your
that.
body to change and you just to be a stranger to yourself. It's real fun.
I feel like it's been coming. It's been like for the last like 2 years.
Oh, yeah?
I feel like my body's going, no, it's happening.
Well, let's talk about that because I felt like at 35 there was a very large shift when it came to food, the way that
Sure.
I digested food, the way that I craved food. the way that food sat on my body.
Yeah.
35 was a big shift. I've heard it's similar at 45. It's different for everyone? Are there milestones?
It is different for everyone. I'd say, yes, there are milestones. I'd also say that because of all the hormones in our food and then toxins in our diet, like it is pre-menopause and like early menopause is so much more of a thing now than it used to be because we're sort of forcing our bodies into earlier menopause and more extreme menopause.
Do you
Why?
think it's that, or do you think people are just talking about it like they never did before?
Well, I do think, I mean, I look at people that I know who are in their 40s who are going through early menopause. And I think about when my mom started to go through it. And I'm like, it wasn't that early. And obviously it varies per person anyway. But I do think we are seeing menopause. It's similar to like girls getting their periods earlier and earlier.
And why is that? So you talk about food, like what is it in our food that we're eating that's causing that?
I'd say a lot of it is the hormones in meats. I think that's a lot of it. And then also, I mean, we're getting these like phytoestrogens. I mean, so we were just talking about soy. There's a lot of things that alter our bodies in ways that we don't even realize, or in a really subtle ways that we're like, oh, it's not a big deal. And you're like, if this is happening, think of what else is happening in our bodies that we don't even see or feel or realize.
So if there's hormones in meats, what are you saying? Don't eat meat, do eat meat? What kind of like what do we do?
I'm a big meat fan, but I am in terms of meat, I think definitely quality over quantity. If you have, and I get that like budget is a big deal for almost everybody. I would rather you eat less meat, but get a good quality version of it than go out of your way to be like, I need this much protein from my meat.
And what's good quality meat? What does that mean?
So avoiding hormones is a big one. And we're starting to see a shift in hormone use and fortunately like antibiotic use in meats too. I mean, we're starting to see like chains that are vowing to get rid of antibiotics in their meats. So all that is good stuff. But certainly, I mean, if you can get it, then get the hormone-free, antibiotic-free organic meat. And I know it seems out of reach for some people, but think about the fact that Costco sells more organic meat than any other chain of grocery stores.
Well, Costco has their own plants,
Yes.
and they take very good care of their meat and
They
their
do.
animals and all that kind of stuff, which a lot of people don't know. So it may not say like grass fed, blah 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 on the front, but it'll say Costco, and that's good enough.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, because like they used to, I mean, we get almost all of our meat, except for like during the summer when we go all out and do the meats at farmers markets. Because we know a lot of the people selling it at this point, but we get most of our meats from Costco, and they used to sell a grass-fed or organic ground beef.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they don't anymore.
I used to buy that.
And now it's just organic, but I have a feeling, and I'm not giving them a free pass because I would still like to see some grass-fed. But I get the feeling that it's the same farms, but that there's been some shifts in sort of what grass-fed means. And so it might just be that like the quality is the same. They're just having to be careful about how they market it. But I agree. I think Costco meats,
Yeah.
not all of them, but
Yeah. But then how do you know, do you agree then that like whatever the cows are eating? So how do you get that? Because I know like for chickens, you can say no soy, but you don't see no soy for like labels on a steak or ground beef.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I think fortunately the access to grass-fed beef is better than ever.
Right.
I mean, ideally you would get one that says grass finished, but that's harder and harder to find. The whole idea is that like cows were never meant to eat corn, and we're giving them corn, and
Which
we're
is all GMO.
It's all GMO, and it messes with their system. Anybody who's read Omnivore's Dilemma knows the whole spiel.
Changed my life.
It's crazy. We are feeding. I mean, it'd be like, I can't think of it'd be like telling us like eat pine cones until you're fat enough that our bodies aren't meant to eat pine cones. Like we might survive on it for a day or two because there's some nutrients in it, but like our system's gonna like attack us at a certain point and go, I can't do this anymore. And cows do that. I mean, their system shuts down. And so what they have to do is they have to give them hormones to make them grow faster so that they can slaughter them earlier, because otherwise their system shuts down from the corn. It's really scary stuff.
It's super sad.
It's sad.
It is. So when you see grass finished, what that means is that because they can say grass fed and at the very end give them corn right before they're slaughtered because it improves the flavor. But if it's grass finished, that means they only had grass like their entire lives, which is what obviously, I mean, that's what all the dairy commercials tell us, is that they live on these like grass hills and everything, because that's what they're supposed to eat.
Right. And what about chicken? What do we look for in chicken?
So hormone and antibiotic free would probably be the biggest ones for chicken.
But I keep reading that that's already a thing. Like, it's actually, I could have sworn I read somewhere that like that's almost like illegal. Like, they don't do that to chickens anymore, even though I know they do.
They can't use growth hormones
anymore.
Well, actually, let's see. I know that they can't use, pork is not allowed to use growth hormones anymore at all. Chicken, I thought you still could, but it's hard to keep up. I mean, it's like constantly changing. But antibiotics are definitely a big one with chickens, because they're just raised in like filthy conditions.
It's so sad.
I mean, I understand that chickens do need antibiotics sometimes in their lives, but regular antibiotic use in raising animals just allows for like filthy conditions. That's really why the industry has that, is because you can just stick them anywhere, and you can stick them with like as little space and close to other animals, and it can be disgusting. And you give them antibiotics and they're for a while immune to that stuff. And now we're seeing superbugs and all these other things. But that's the whole idea behind antibiotics, is that you don't have to worry about the conditions that they're being raised in.
Okay. So
this took a really dark turn.
Yeah, I'm pretty upset over here.
Okay. And then what about milk?
So, first of all, I think we are sort of hinting at this a little bit, but there are more people who can't tolerate dairy than even realize it. And a lot of it has to do with our ancestry. So if you look back at like where your ancestors came from, like if you're Dutch, then probably your ancestors have been eating dairy for a long time, and you're less likely to have issues with dairy
because of all the Gouda.
And the butter
chocolate
churning.
and yeah, all the good stuff.
They just live the good life over there.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
But there are other ethnic groups that dairy was not something that they consumed, and so
The Jews.
Yeah,
I'm fine with dairy, but every other Jew I've ever met is just like terrible
I
with
know.
dairy.
Oh,
Same.
interesting.
It's
Oh,
why
yeah.
synagogues are so stinky. I just made that up.
Like, are they? I don't think so.
I just wanted to start like I was trying to trend some sort of like
Sure.
anti-Semitic. Okay, I'm Jewish. I just want to point that out
Yeah.
too.
Two Jews at this table.
That's funny. Where I was just gonna say something.
Sorry, I totally
so do you
sidetracked.
think that what do you think about like giving your kids milk? Like, that's a huge. My
Right.
daughter never really loved it and still doesn't drink it. And I had like one pediatrician that was like schooling me on it. And
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
girl, she eats spinach. Like, there's
Right.
way more calcium in the dark greens that I feed her. I'm not worried about the milk.
Yeah, I think doctors these days, and I'm not poo-pooing doctors, obviously, because they're amazing, but I think there is this sort of old school train of thought, which is just like, make kids drink milk. And I mean, vegans will tell you we're the only animals that drink other animals' milk. Like, it's super weird and creepy if you actually think about it.
Right.
But I mean, milk's delicious, so there's
Well,
that.
And if
And
you don't like
cheese.
milk, I mean, who can exist without cheese? Life is just not worth
Yeah.
living without cheese and butter.
Fully agree.
Yeah, I always say
Fully
the
agree.
only thing that makes cheese better is melting it, because it's just amazing.
Or just a nice Borson.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's how I live.
I made these grass-fed hamburgers over Memorial Day weekend. I thought of you because I put Gouda on top of them.
Oof.
And I think it might have been the best hamburger I've ever had in my life.
I'm having not eaten today. I'm very excited about what you're saying.
Memorial Day weekend, my mother-in-law made hamburgers, and I sort of I outdid her a little bit, because she was like, I'm making burgers, and I was like, I'm gonna cook up bacon and we're gonna put it on the burgers, and she was like, all right. And then I bought this like honey siracha Gouda and put it on the burgers.
Oh, geez.
What?
Oh, wow.
I
You just
know.
described Shayna's like last meal on
things, like-
earth.
It was
It's literally, if you could
It was
die, that's
amazing.
what I should feed you.
And a slice of pepperoni pizza.
well, we had that last night.
Oh my gosh.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So dairy, yeah, it's hard, because I do like calcium is, I mean, calcium is important for kids, obviously. I mean, among other things, there's lots of great things about milk. I think part of the problem too is that we're giving these kids, especially at schools, we're giving them like reduced fat milks, or like the flavored milks.
Oh yeah, we've talked about this. So
Mhm.
explain what the issue is with that.
with the fat.
with the like the
Okay.
2%, 1%.
Yeah. So first of all, kids need fat. I mean, we all need fat, but like kids really need fat because especially as they like get older and fat is important for like creating hormones
And for your brain.
for your brain. Absolutely. Brain function for sure. And the fat also is one of the things that helps the vitamin D that's naturally in milk be absorbed. So there are two kinds of vitamins. There's fat soluble and water soluble. Fat soluble, which is your A, D, E, and K. So vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K. So those need fat in order to be utilized by the body. The fat in milk is there to help the vitamin, like it works synergistically. When you remove the fat, even if you have the vitamin D in there, you're not getting the fat that you need to absorb that vitamin D.
So even if it says skim milk but vitamin D fortified, it's just bullshit.
Right. Remember how like they used to call whole milk vitamin D milk?
Oh,
Do you
really?
remember that? That like that's what before they called it whole milk, they called it vitamin D milk. And that's why. I mean, you're getting vitamin D's in it anyway, but you're getting, and it's probably fortified as well, but the fat is helping you utilize that vitamin D.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if they're saying they're putting vitamin D in skim milk,
But there's no fat.
it's just a gimmick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can get fat from other things that you're eating at the same time as the milk, but why do that when, I mean, milk it's sort of like eating just the egg white, which is a whole nother thing. Like the egg white and the egg yolk, it's like that's a perfect little food, and you're separating these things that work together to give your body what it needs.
And isn't there more sugar? Like if you remove the fat, doesn't that make the sugar content in milk greater? Why do I think that?
Doesn't, although it wouldn't make the sugar fat, but like with a lot of yogurts and things, when you remove the fat's good, right? We know fat tastes
Yeah.
good. So when you remove fats from any food, they usually have to add more sugar to make it taste good.
Okay.
Okay.
So it might be that. But then also when you look at the sugar content in milk or even in like plain yogurt, some people are like, oh my God, there's so much sugar in this. Lactose is a sugar. It's a milk sugar. And so when you're looking at the sugar content, that's including lactose, which is
not
the
like
same
spoonfuls
thing.
of
Right,
sugar.
exactly. And you can look under the ingredients; it's just going to say milk. They're not adding sugar. That's a milk sugar, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Except some people don't tolerate it well.
Okay, last question.
Yeah.
If you had to name the most important vitamins for women's health,
Oh,
like Tracy and I talk about vitamin D recently, like what do you think a mom listening to this right now is like, God, there's 80 billion supplements.
yeah.
What would be like the 3 top supplements you would recommend?
I'm so glad you said 3 because I have a thing that I call the Holy Trinity or the trifecta of supplements. And this is like obviously any information I'm giving out because I'm not a doctor. Like talk to your doctor about any of this stuff because this is a good conversation to have with doctors.
I get that, but you know what? I'm kind of sick of doctors, to be honest. And I'm
Sorry,
not
I have
that
to
don't.
legally say that.
No, I get it. And look, I like
Yeah.
doctors too. I go to doctors. I had my children in hospitals, but I feel like these days there are so many more ways to look at things,
Absolutely.
especially nutrition, especially wellness, especially women's issues. And so I get that you have to say that, but I just wanted to say that.
Well, I mean, wasn't it Amanda Ogden who said in med school you get 4 hours of
Yeah.
nutrition? Like doctors aren't
Yeah.
nutritionists. They look at the medical, but they don't look at.
They get one day where they learn about nutrition.
Okay.
And that's it.
It's insane.
I mean, obviously it varies, right?
They can research it on their own, I'm
Absolutely.
sure.
And thankfully, a lot of doctors are realizing like they're deficient in this information. They should probably get additional training in that, which is fabulous. So I would just say that there are lots of, for hormone balancing, I think, for example, like B vitamins are really, really important for hormone balancing. So
And
like,
hangover cures.
and yeah.
But you see B vitamins, which B vitamin? I mean, like I don't know anything
Right.
about vitamins. So
Okay.
what B am I talking about?
So don't buy, for the most part, don't get an individual B vitamin. There are things called like a B complex, which are going to be all the B vitamins. And there's different ratios. So if you're somebody, there's a lot of people who are told like, my doctor said I should take more B12. Great. Take a B complex that's higher in B12, but don't just take B12 because the B vitamins work synergistically and they really function that much better when you're taking a bunch of all of them.
And they're
instead
good
of
for
just
what?
isolated.
What is B good
So
for?
B vitamins are really especially good for hormone balancing.
Okay.
And then, sorry, for vitamins, is there really a difference between like a raw vitamin? I mean, there's such a range in price. Like, what do you?
Yeah.
I never know
Right.
what to buy.
There's food based, so and synthetic. And the thing, so food based is great. I'd say food based, if you can,
like
is
it comes
better.
from food.
It comes from food.
Okay.
So for example, this is a really good example because when you look at like a multivitamin. So to answer your question real quick, I'd say the top three are a good quality multivitamin, a probiotic, and an omega-3 like fish oil, because those are a probiotic. Most people don't get like eat fermented foods regularly, and we don't. It's hard to get like consistent, healthy, safe fish now. So we're like a lot of people are deficient in omega-3s as well. And then a multi is just going to cover all your bases in some way and have all the B vitamins.
All the B's. Yeah.
But so when you look at like a multivitamin, for example, you'll see it'll say like folic acid, right? That's one of the ones that like doctors always say, like when you're pregnant, you need folic acid. That's one of the things that's really high in prenatal vitamins. So folic acid is the synthetic form of folate. If it says folic acid, that's automatically the synthetic form. If it's folate, it's coming from, the word folate comes from the word foliage. It's coming from like dark leafy greens usually. So that's going to be like a big difference in how your body utilizes that. The one thing is, because it comes from food, how much of that nutrient you're getting and utilizing can sort of vary a lot. So it's harder to use food-based ones therapeutically. So if what you're doing is like, I want to take a multivitamin every day just to sort of keep my levels high, then a food-based would be really good. If you're like, my doctor said I need this much of this specific vitamin or mineral, then sometimes the synthetic is actually better because it's easier for them to measure what you're actually getting. Does that make sense?
I think so.
I think so. Yeah. So
Gosh.
generally speaking, food-based, plant-based,
Yeah. I mean, if you can,
For
if
your
you can,
daily.
yeah.
unless your doctor is like what we were talking about, like how Sarah told me I needed to take
More
like
D.
5,000 MIUs of D.
5,000 IUs. Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
It has a U in it.
Yes.
That in which case, I mean, I bought one and it had the 5,000 on it, and I have no idea what it's from.
Yeah.
Like, got it from this guy on the corner.
He gives me the D and the crack salt.
That's right.
Yeah. And I mean, there are some, the reason why they use synthetic is because it's cheaper, but there's some things that like the plant base is just as cheap. Like when you see like beta carotene, for example, like beta carotene, my understanding is it's pretty cheap. So, I mean, some of them are going to be food based anyway. Whereas like, I mean, like folic acid is like the best example of dark leafy greens are expensive. So therefore folate's expensive. So yeah, I mean, for something like that, I think synthetic, a good quality synthetic would still be probably a better option.
And then omegas, those have to be from fish, right? Or can that be
Yeah.
synthetic?
No, you want to get fish oil. Yeah.
Okay.
And there's different forms and there's different, obviously, brands. Stuff,
Some that
and-
make you burp more than others.
Now,
Yes.
well, the key is you have to keep it in the fridge or the freezer.
Oh, didn't know.
Yeah,
That's
they
what
should
my
be kept
doctor
in the-
told me when I was pregnant.
Yeah, and I mean, if you buy your supplements from Costco, first of all, don't. But then, second of all, like I know it's so because everybody gets their supplements from Amazon or Costco.
And you
But-
just, why?
But especially the fish oil, don't buy it at Costco. I would say because their fish oil is so heat sensitive, and they're storing them in these huge like
Oh, interesting.
hot warehouses, and they're just sitting there, and the quality is just not going to be as good. You might be eating rancid oil.
Gross.
So I know.
So get it like from a fridge, from a store.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's like already get it refrigerated, or just get it from a.
I mean, ideally, but more importantly, like once it's opens, that's even more important. But I mean, if you can get it, like a lot of the health food stores will refrigerate it anyway. So that would be great.
Maya, you're a wealth of information.
Wow.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
We could
Thank
talk about
you.
this stuff
I know forever.
It's
forever.
fun. Go try a cricket bar, everybody. Just out of you're curious.
And you're here
anyway.
in Denver, but do you do online consultations, or
I
like
do.
how can people find out more about you?
Yeah, so my website is familytreenutrition.com, and I always do. I want to make sure, not just for myself, but for other nutritionists, it's really important to make sure that we're like the right fit for a client. So most understanding nutritionists will do like a quick consult over the phone to make sure we're a good fit. So I always do that. And then, yeah, I love doing Skype sessions, FaceTime sessions, any of that stuff. It's fun.
Awesome. And we'll post your Cricket bar when you can find it,
I'll
just
have
in
to
case
look it up.
anyone's. And the
I'll have
crack
to look it up.
salt.
Well,
Crack salt on your cricket. On
There
your
you
cricket
go.
bar.
Delicious.
thank you, Maya.
Thanks.
We are on tour. We're on tour.
We got a tour
We're on
update.
tour.
Tour update. As we mentioned before, we did not do a podcast this past week because I think anytime we go to New York, it feels like getting kicked in the face.
Oh my God, we were in New
Just
York.
physically.
Oh, yeah.
However, the show was super fun. We were in Long Island.
Oh my gosh, it was so fun. And that theater, the Paramount, amazing.
Oh, it was awesome. There was a plaque on the stage that was like, Billy Joel played his piano right here.
Seriously. And then
Super cool.
downstairs in the green room party area, there was like, I mean, Ed Sheeran played there, Alanis Morissette, Billy Joel, like all of the bands, and then us. Then we
And
showed
us.
up.
And it was one of the most interesting cast of characters who worked at that place too. Like we walked in and we were like, they hate us. Like, where is everyone? And then we realized they were just like Long Island cronies. Like two of them were brothers. Like we could
They
hear
were
them
the
all talking.
happiest
They were
band
all
of
so
brothers
happy.
I've ever met. They were so delightful.
They loved their jobs. They were so kind to us.
There was a buffet downstairs.
They were watching the
before
PGA
dinner.
Tour. Yeah, there was a buffet.
Everyone was sitting around eating dinner. They were so lovely.
And then I walked out there like with half my makeup on accidentally. Remember?
So
I
to
do
the
my
guys, not on stage.
Yeah, no, I do my triangles. You know, we talk about this where I let my concealer dry, and I forgot that I was just letting it dry, and had to talk to the group of like 12 tech guys about
It was
something.
real funny.
And then was so embarrassed. I'm rarely embarrassed. It was pretty embarrassing for me.
It was pretty funny.
Anyway,
Yeah, so that was New York. Yeah, that was a rough trip right off the heels of Mother's Day. I don't know. We've been on a bender the last couple months.
bump and dump bender.
Oh, geez. And so this week we are going back to Omaha,
Yes.
Omaha, Nebraska for 2 shows.
How many times have we
late.
been to Omaha? This is our 5th.
I don't know, a lot.
We love
Omaha. We love Omaha big time. And then that's on Friday night, 2 shows, 6:30 and 8:45, I believe, show. And then we're hopping over to Des Moines on Saturday night for
another
2
2 shows.
And then we have our last 3 shows of this tour.
Yeah,
St. Paul, Madison, and Milwaukee
that's the following week.
the
So
following week in June.
get your tickets.
Come and see us
Come
before
and
we
see
die.
us before summer. And I don't know about you guys, but this is both of our kids' last week of school, so there's a lot going on.
Congratulations. Yeah.
And congratulations.
Keep it together, ladies. We're almost there.
Head over to Costco and get all the snacks you need for the summer
Oh my
because it's going to be a
God.
big one.
Oh, jeez.
All right.
See you later.